we need to remember is, of the regional policy frameworks we have, the Maputo Protocol, we read them from a lens of reproductive age most of the time. But there's an advocacy gap there to also make sure that
litigation, you must have, a law or an international instrument that you can hold on to make your case. So I hear you. Thank you. Dr. Mildred, you work along with young people. And for a long time, you've been at the forefront of fighting for their right to access sexual reproductive health and rights services. And yours is the intersection of SRHR and indigenous knowledge. But there's just been a general feeling that, not a lot has been done on elderly women or elderly people. So I'd love to hear it from you. What is the future that you want for the continent in terms of supporting the elderly to access SRHR services?
Thank you so much. I think, first of all, we need to understand that when we talk about the 15 to 49 age group, I think we also need to be aware of who has defined that age group. You find a lot of the work that we do is donor-driven, and donors have defined the age group that they want to work with, and that has been the 15 to 49. So as we're talking in this conversation, even the declaration that will come out of this, I think we need to be very mindful of how we engage even with our funding partners. There was a phase where we were being pushed to run with youths, young people, and so on. I do that. That's what I do a lot. But we also need to be mindful of who is determining the research agenda, the programmatic agenda. And it's now time, I think, to push back and say, we have a group of people that needs attention, and this is the older people. So I don't see a conflict in working with young people and older persons at the same time, because it is a continuum. When you look at the importance for me of working with young people has to do with the demographic dividend that I've talked about before, that as they also age, we're also saying that we'll have an informed older people who understand. So when they reach to a menopause point, they also understand what is happening. It's not a new thing. And then also, I think what I would really appreciate is for us to rethink the programs that we engage in, rethink where funding should be going, rethink who should be determining what it is that we focus on. So for me, policy integration, advocating for SRHR that serves older people as well. We talk a lot about bodily autonomy as though it is something that is foreign, but we've always had bodily autonomy amongst our people, amongst even older women in Africa. So bodily autonomy is not new, but the way it has been, I think, defined, it's almost as though we didn't have any frameworks before we had funding to implement programs. And then I think it's also important to talk about life course sexuality, where we are reasserting that sexuality and dignity extends across all ages. I can be 15, I can be 60, I can be 80. Sexuality and dignity are important. And then also the intergenerational dialogue and intragenerational dialogue, positioning older people with experience who have gone through various life motions to be partners in shaping SRH narratives and not just passive recipients. So even as we're talking about menopause and so on, and I'm so glad, Saru, that you are engaging with people who have experienced it. And I think I will, and then of course, just using our indigenous frameworks to frame SRHR. It shouldn't be fragmented. Where we are looking at young people, we're looking at older people, we're looking at, let's have a continuum. Let's have it connected. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we love on Dr. Mildred here? Oshunje. It's your time to talk back. Would love to hear your views, your thoughts, your questions, your submissions. I'll give an opportunity to at least 5 people. Okay. Okay, can someone help me move the microphone, please? Oh, oh yeah. Okay, good. Professor Musisi, I wanted to start with you. Then I can come to the ladies. Professor Musisi, you can use the microphone on your table. You want to come? Okay, great. There is nothing for us without us. Here, sir.
There are no older people there, so I'm going to invite myself. Here, I'll invite myself later. And I'm enjoying myself because I'm an older person. First, to answer your question about andropause, yes, men go through changes as they become older. Androgens or testosterone production goes down. They go through testicular atrophy or shrinking. Penises become smaller. The erections are not as strong as they used to be. And they worry about that. If you go in these pharmacies and you ask who is buying Viagra and like drugs, it's older men. Worse still, the very same organs of reproduction are also the organs of destruction. They get prostate cancers and stuff like that. Now, this is also true in women, that they also get other challenges beyond menopause as they become older. Rectocele, cystocele, uterine prolapse, all of these things. Incontinence. In fact, you said that when you were approached, they said, please get us diapers?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So these things do exist, and men go through changes, and the musculature becomes weaker. They also develop other things which, alongside also, which the women get. So I thought after answering your question, I'll tell you a few things that myself I have done, for older people. One is that when I was lecturing, I was still teaching in the university before I retired there was, in Uganda, there's no department of geriatric medicine. I struggled for 10 years to establish it up to now. It's not there. So there's no training, as you people said. By the way, thank you very much. All of those things you have highlighted, they're all true. So I took it upon myself to begin training the first geriatric psychiatrist, Professor Nawere Nakasuja. Maybe some of you know her. She's there. Then I trained psychologists, PhDs, supervised 3 of them. Dr. Nachigude. Geriatric, older people. Pediatric is young people. Geriatric is older people.
Oh, yeah.
There's Dr. Jane Francis Naluvega, there's recently Dr. Joy Gumisirize. All of these people have come out to try to help older people. There are no geriatric nurses in Uganda. It's a gap. There are no geriatric social workers in Uganda. That aside, I want to talk about, we talked about challenges of older women. The nun story is very interesting. There's a similar kind of also story, which I could tell at Kisubi. There's a place called Queen of Peace. And it's exactly the same story. And for 10 years, I've been treating these people free of charge. I told them that they asked me for a fee. I said, no, just fuel my car. Up to you, whatever you want. So I usually see about 20 of them at a time, and they usually give me 100,000 shillings, which is about, I don't know, how much is that in dollars for people to know?
$30.
$30 for fuel, and then I have trained a clinical officer to look after them because I said I'm also getting older. I may need to be looked after. So she's there. Another challenge that I found also in older people are toilets. Where there are no sit-down toilets, where there are latrines. They have arthritis. They can't bend their legs. They can't sit on, they can't go on latrines very well. They can't access them. So all of these things become challenges. But then I want to thank Dr. Mushunje.
Yeah.
What we really need is an Ubuntu approach to aging. African societies cared for the young, of course, the adults, and the elderly. Not in isolation, not in points of exclusion. This Western civilization is youth-driven. Once you reach a certain age, they discard you, completely. You can't get jobs, you can't get anything, you can't get housing, you can't get insurance. We can't do that on the African continent. We live with our old people together in the same community, and they should, so that they die with dignity. And if you don't look after your old people, no one is going to look after you. That I've seen from time to time. So that is, to me, I think, where we need to go Ubuntu-wise.
Yeah.
Now, lastly, before I de-invite myself, I have decided, and I'm 75 this year, that I'm only going to look after older people.
A round of applause for Professor Musisi. Professor, thank you very, very much. Wow. That is very nice. So let me just move the micro. Okay, ma'am, you have the microphone right there. My lady, you're welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight two issues. When she was speaking, she was saying, oh, it's the elite that are able to access these services. One thing I discovered, and I'm always curious, because when I go to the gynecologist, I'm always curious about a number of things. And last time, and I always go with, and that's the other thing, I always go with the fellow ladies or my best friend. So we keep each other in contact regarding our reproductive health. So one of the things we asked was, when we got there, we said, we asked about our medical insurance, and we said, can we know how much we get per year in terms of our gyne, our obs and gyne issues, and versus what we get for general medicines. We found that what we get for gyne is absolutely the most minimum of the amount you get for anything else. I get more for my glasses than I get for gyne. And so being a judge, you can't say I'll sue my medical. Yeah, but you understand the issues that if you look at a woman's obs and gyne's needs, they don't start at this age. They start earlier on. So if any girl, even if they're on medical aid, it means they exhaust their medical insurance within less than 2 visits. So there is a major problem when it comes to sexual reproductive health across, and it's not just for the poor or it's across for women. There is a big issue that needs to be addressed in terms of reproductive health, sexual and reproductive health for women across the spectrum, whether it's rich or poor, person with disability. It is a major, major problem for women. Now, when we're talking about age as a determinant for sexual and reproductive health rights, I also wanted to highlight something. We talk about the rape that is happening among them, but you also find that if I'm a former prosecutor, so when we did, and I still do prison visits even now, as I'm a visiting justice of the peace. When you go into prison, in our prisons, if you ever do that, you will find that there's a whole old age wing, especially for the men. And when you check what offenses they're in for, it's usually for sexual offenses. They've actually either sexually assaulted their own grandchildren in the home, or children within the community. So there is also a major issue that you need to look around age and the aspect of gender-based violence, especially coming from men, in terms of as the age grows. So when you're doing all this research, there's so many issues around age, sexual, reproductive health rights, as well as gender-based violence, that we don't have a lot of research, and that it's necessary, and so for us to actually look at. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, my lady. Lady Justice, if you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the panel. I'm actually intrigued. I definitely fall in that category. But as it is, as they say, doctors don't usually care about what happens to them until something happens. That is exactly what is happening for us women in that age group. It is for the first time that I'm sitting in a conference and we're actually discussing age rights of the elderly. And I'm learning a lot. Just as much when you turn, you are not told much about going into periods unless you're very lucky. So many of us hit that maybe from friends at school, from all sorts of people who shouldn't be telling you. it's the same with menopause. I dare say if anyone here really had a discussion of menopause until it hit them, it is when you start getting the symptoms and then you start asking around, even for us women who are educated. But what has intrigued me is its impact on women of the age where we are going to be the ones who are becoming managers and leaders. Yet we are not prepared, and that's my personal testimony. I was approached for something big, and I said, no, I'm not ready to do it. Why? Because, I'm old, I'm beginning to experience my grandchild, I want to rest. I gave all the reasons apart from this. And now I'm realizing this is probably one of the reasons I refused to take that step. Because I felt my body was going through something, and I'm not going to add this on me. So please, we need to talk to women our age, because everybody's looking up to us. We are supposed to fill the gaps. The men will take these gaps. They'll take them, because I've heard about andropause. And yes, we are not going to say it doesn't affect them, but I dare say for women, because we have many other problems, you still have to look after the family, you still have to now look after the grandchildren, your children are asking you to do that, there are so many other challenges. So I'm asking, especially now, Sehud in Uganda, I think this is an area you need to train women judges, and we do have an association. I think this is an area that we need to interface seriously with them, because many of us are stepping away from opportunities that other younger women would want us to be doing, to look up to us, because we are tired, we feel tired, because we have not been prepared. So I am very happy that this has happened to me. I'm now reflecting that this is one of the challenges I didn't even know. Like they say, this is something that you go through. Yes, but how has it affected your own career, as a woman? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lady Justice. The pilots are telling me your time is up, but I'll give the last opportunity to that table. Oh yeah, two, okay. All right, yes, you're welcome. Yes, Karibu, welcome. Yes, you.
Okay. Yes, good morning, thank you. Thank you, and my name is Analia Banfi. I work at Rios. I'm from Uruguay, but I'm based in the US. And congratulations to all the panelists and to Solomon. This was a great panel, a very necessary conversation. Actually, we were talking with our colleagues from Latin America, and we are facing exactly the same issues. Also, the lack of interest from funders to work on this issue. And my question, very specific question is, have there been across Africa, besides all the advocacy efforts and and raising awareness and some research, have there been any conversations around legal work, not just strategic litigation, but legal work in general? For example, regarding statistical invisibility or the lack of guidelines in the health system, or any conversations on how to put this topic on the table, basically, I'm curious about it. Thank you.
Thank you, my dear. I'll go to...
Yes, thank you so much. I want to appreciate the panelists. I think there is something we are forgetting, and it comes to the cancers. We all understand that age is a risk factor for the various cancers that happen to both the women and the men. For the women, we have the ovarian cancers, the breast cancers, the very common one called cervical cancer. And I feel like for us who are in programming, we need to really be intentional to mainstream the information that we give out. Like, for example, awareness. We understand that, yes, the health workers may not be able to be aware of all this, but what of the people themselves? Because also the older persons most times stigmatize themselves. If they get an issue, most times they're like, maybe it is part of the aging and all that. Are they aware of the symptoms? Are they able to dictate all these symptoms and signs early enough so that they can be able to go for the care? So I feel like it's a call for action for all of us who are in programming to be very intentional in our advocacy, in our sensitizations in the communities, to take time off to talk about all these things so that the people themselves are able to understand their bodies and able to also know when there's an issue happening to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The men also have,
Yeah, the men do
prostate
have the
cancer, like
prostate, yeah.
Professor Musi was saying. You have the final say, my lady. You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. So I think a lot of it has been said, but maybe just to emphasize, I think it's Mildred who said we should then make sure that our education is on sexual reproductive health from the beginning to the end of the life course. Because even if it's 15 to 49 reproductive age, but we have women giving birth after that, we have intergenerational relationships with women in their 50s, with guys in their 30s. So what are the impacts of that? And then also looking at the decolonial lens, we have a lot of indigenous knowledge systems that we should be relying on now, because we already know our health system is not as financed as it should be. And this is additional stuff that we want them to take on. But if we look at what is there that we have easy access to, that we can take advantage of to assist our women, I think it will make managing menopause much easier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A round of applause to all of you who have contributed. Appreciate you very much. Let me come back to my panel. Dr. Mushunje, do you want to respond to some of the comments that have come up? I'll give my other panelists a minute, and then we wrap it up.
Thank you so much. I think the comments have really kind of been buttressing what you've been saying, and I think the important thing now is to take the discussion forward. I'm particularly interested in the health cover, and I think that's something that really I have a personal interest, and I'm going to follow up on that to see how much is allocated, like for my health insurance per year, how much is allocated for the SRHR issues, and start to analyze from there. And then, of course, the visibility of data, I think that is important. And through the research that I've been that we're working on with the Pamoja group around access to SRHR services for women beyond 50, I think we are starting to see the importance of generating data beyond the 49 age group. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, Sarah.
I'll speak from the lens of just the healthcare system side, and I'll continue prioritizing the issue of capacitating our healthcare professionals, because in as much as we trust our community leaders, in as much as we trust our family members, there is also a trust that we have with healthcare professionals that we still need to capacitate them with the tools and the resources required to assist those women. And the funding, I think someone asked something around the laws and the policies. It all comes down to evidence generation. Once we have the evidence, it's easier to make a case. And I'm happy that there's more and more of us in the continent that are doing research around experiences of women. There's also me who's looking at the lens of healthcare professionals. And if we bring all of that together, we will have a good evidence base to then bring to policy.
Thank you, Sarah. If you have the last say.
Yes, so I agree with the lady Justice. This is not just an issue for some women, it's for all women. But the women in the village suffer at another, indescribable. You know, if I will give you my own example, I had a challenge. I went to my gyna prescribed something, and in that, the gyna wrote, I don't know, menopause-related symptoms, something. And I went to the pharmacy, and they refused to give. I was livid. How? Me, who is championing reproductive, you cannot give me medicine because of some menopause or something? I am in pain. I don't care. You can write whatever. I am in pain. I need medicine. I was livid. And I caused mayhem. In short, the next time we were, earlier this year, when we were renewing our insurance, I said, I have to see menopause first. I have to see menopause, I have to see contraceptives. Otherwise, we are not taking that cover. And it's those small, small things that we can do. Because you can imagine the women who, we don't even know what is happening to our body. All you know is you're experiencing something that you've never experienced before. And so I think, and I like what you said, digging deep to see what are those lines. And then that gives us room to advocate for more from within. I also like what Justice Eva said. You know, we invest a lot in women, in girls, in education. We say we want to help you to break the ceiling, get to those higher levels. By the time you have risen through the levels and you are that higher level, you are in menopause. And that is the same time, now you are a manager, you are a director, you are whatever you are dealing with, you can't sleep. You can't remember the last time you had a full night's sleep. You're having hot flash. You're having all this manner of challenges that make it so hard. So it's really, for us who are investing in empowerment of women, if we want women to retain, to work at that level, we have to look at what are the challenges at this upper level. We've started a conversation with the Kenya judiciary. One of the judges that I know had also approached me and said, you know what, she had started having a conversation with the judges, the Judicial Training Institute and the CJ, in the possibility of having a workplace policy. I think that's a small thing that we can do. If we can't have it at a national level, can the judiciary at least champion that for the judges? And that would be a good way to a set of example that others can then follow. And then, of course, looking at your cover and all of those enabling environment for all of us.
Yeah, thank you. A round of applause for my panel. Amazing. Evelyn, thank you very much. Saru and Dr. Mildred, thank you very much. Let's love on them once again. Yeah, I've learned a lot. Lastly, for me, I think that as the media, we need to really be on the front line of this conversation by introducing it to our newsrooms, to public spaces, to conversations. I think the media is going to play a critical role in pushing this agenda. And I think I'm going to talk with Professor Mulumba, and I see how we can make this a big thing on the continent. I'm Solomon Serwanja. It's been an honor hosting you. Good morning.
Okay. It's very clear we have so much conversations that we need to continue at lunch and at break time, because I saw some people were asking, oh, so what is andropause? Or some people were asking, why did Professor invite and disinvite himself to the panel? So we have, that's the Baraza spirit. The conversations are in the room, out of the room, and we talk all the time. So we're going to sail into the last and final panel session of this Baraza. Because after tea break, we are now going to get into consolidation. Then final panel session is going to be moderated by somebody who is very exciting. They're a human rights lawyer, an advocacy specialist, a researcher, a registered legal practitioner, and somebody who has balanced working both within civil society and within the government. They are also a public notary in Zimbabwe. This is somebody that has won several awards, and the most recent one was being the 2023 winner of the Director of the Year Award for all executive directors of NGOs and civil society organizations category in Zimbabwe. Hey, people. Hey.
She is a former state prosecutor in Zimbabwe's National Prosecuting Authority. Her involvement in Legal Resources Foundation versus the Minister of Health in Zimbabwe challenges age-based barriers in access to SRHR services and placed her experience at the heart of the Baraza theme. As a moderator, she will connect legal litigation strategies, evidence and access to justice, effective remedies, and the practical realities challenging restrictive laws and policies. Distinguished delegates, please join your hands and welcome Valerie Zivoya, the Executive Director of the Legal Resources Foundation in Zimbabwe. Let's clap until Valerie sits. Valerie is going to moderate the final panel session, which is around building continental litigation strategies for reproductive justice. And Valerie, you'll have to share with us how you got your name. I enjoyed that story yesterday. How you got the name Valerie?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. I've just been advised that we have an hour. Our group was fighting over time yesterday, so we'll see how best we can manage it. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. As you were reading my profile, I was like, who is this person? Now I understand fellow speakers who were saying, when your profile is read, it seems a bit disconnected from you, and then you recall, oh, I'm next online. Thank you so much for inviting us to this podium. Maybe I'll tell you about my name later on, because we have two ladies with the same name, with very different meanings and very different spellings. So yes, I work for the Legal Resources Foundation. I would like to thank Women in Law Southern Africa for really giving us a platform to really profile our case and speak about unspoken issues. I'm also glad that the judge was here at the dinner, also speaking about this case, which really tested the waters in as far as sexual reproductive rights are concerned. As already highlighted, our organization is a national organization operating throughout the country. We have a dual approach. We work through paralegals and also lawyers. I will now proceed to invite our panelists for this interesting session. Our panelists come from almost all four corners of the world. So you're going to get very varied and very different perspectives on this session. To start off, I'm going to invite Professor Anika Gray. Anika Gray is a Jamaican lawyer, human rights advocate, and lecturer at the University of the West Indies, Mona. She specializes in gender and the law, criminal law, international human rights. Her work focuses on strategic litigation, institutional reform, policy development, and program management across the English-speaking Caribbean. She leads the Caribbean Abortion Reform Project, which focuses on strategic litigation to decriminalize abortion, access for women and girls in several Anglo-Caribbean countries. Let me hasten to say, when she speaks about the Caribbean, you will actually envision and feel like you're already there. How she links the tourism aspect to law and her work is amazing. Welcome to the podium, Professor. Our next panelist is a colleague of mine. We were in the same class at the University of Zimbabwe on very different ends, championing very different causes. A dear colleague of mine in the profession who has over 20 years experience as a lawyer. His name is Blessing Nyamaropa, and he's the Deputy Director of the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights and chairperson of the Zimbabwe, past chairperson of the Zimbabwe Human Rights NGO Forum. He is a strategic impact litigation and human rights lawyer
with extensive experience in defending civic freedoms, political activists, and journalists. At the Baraza, his litigation and coalition leadership will also offer practical lessons for everybody here on constitutional advocacy, institutional accountability, and protection of civic space. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Blessing Nyamaropa. Our next speaker is a young and vivacious woman coming from the warm heart of Africa. I'm sure you already know which country that is. I will introduce Molly Nkosi, who is the Executive Director of Vital Rights Foundation, Malawi, and Chairperson of the African Reproductive Justice Litigation Alliance, known as AJLA. She is a feminist, sexual reproductive justice advocate, and taxation expert with a strong commitment to advancing access to justice for women, children, and marginalized communities. Molly established the Malawi Reproductive Justice Legal Support Network, a pioneering initiative that nurtures young lawyers and promotes a coordinated approach to providing legal support for women and girls seeking reproductive justice. Her work is driven by a passion for advancing the intersectionality of sexual and reproductive justice, recognizing that meaningful justice must encompass legal, financial, social, and institutional dimensions. Maybe just to add on, she worked in the Legal Aid Directorate of Malawi, and she will also even share experiences now that she is on the other side of the fence. All right, so thank you very much to our panelists. Let me introduce our last and final panelist, who is No Nakibuka Musisi. I hope I got the pronunciation right. Please come to the stage, Noor. She is a lawyer, sexual reproductive health rights expert, and Deputy Director of Center for Health, Human Rights, and Development. She holds a bachelor's degree and master's degree from Makerere University and has extensive experience in advancing the right to health, women's rights, children's rights, and reproductive justice. Noor has represented civil society. Please come to the stage. She has represented civil society in national, regional, and international policy spheres